Hello, it's Wednesday, April 29th. I wanted to create a video for tutors to share with you some of the experiences that I'm having with the teenagers that I support at our company. And I wanted to also offer some tips and strategies for those who work with this age group. So one of the things I'm noticing right now is that many of my teenagers are be engaging in some behaviors that are risky in terms of becoming depressive and overly sad. And I'm not a clinician and I'm not a doctor, but I am observing my students and I'm always connecting with them in the tutoring role. So I'm always asking them, how are you? What did you do before this? How have you been doing with your work? How have you been sleeping? What's been going on in your life? What else are you engaging in? And I'm also just because I know them by now really well, I'm noticing when they're not really feeling so great or when they are. And so I always start my sessions off with a little extra time right now to ask how students are doing. And I name different areas of things that I know they may just be working within or just having some difficulty within, like for example, sleep or being on social media or playing video games or having more quiet time alone in their room as opposed to maybe with their family members. So I'm asking, who are you talking to these days? How's your sleep going? Are you on your phone? How long are you on your phone? Are you showing up to your classes? Are you focused on your work? Are you excited about schoolwork? What's happening? And so there's an opportunity there just to let them process some of the experiences they're having. I'm not solving the problems. I'm just listening and I'm asking them to share with me where they're at. And in that process, they can have the opportunity to share with another person where they are. And it's okay if they're feeling sad. It's okay if they're feeling disconnected. It's okay if they're not excited about school. At least they're sharing that with someone. That's really important. And then I'll reach out to the parents, especially if I do notice that the students aren't feeling great. I always just follow up with a phone call and sharing some pieces of that conversation and saying, I'm just noticing that these things are happening. I'm wondering if you're also noticing that. I don't necessarily think we need to do anything all the time, every time around these things. Sometimes some students just need to process their feelings. And then once they do, they sort of move forward differently. Other times they really need more support and more ideas. So on the screen here, I made an infographic just with some ideas, and we have a couple here that are really working for the teenager in my home, but also the teenagers that I support. So, moving is key. So if you have a kid that's just really, really retreating and not necessarily engaging, if you can get them to walk outside, even around the block, it really sometimes just makes a load of difference. Walking around in fresh air, even if you have to wear a mask when you're outside, it's still really helpful. And if you can, run in an isolated area, bike, lift weights, play catch in a park, do something to just get moving and be connective with your child or with if you're kind of advising the parent and you're helping them out. Talking and listening. So certainly I think tutors have a really nice advantage right now to really connect with their students across the screen and really pull and extract the experience out from them. Try not to let them hide behind the screen and be clicking on games while they're talking to you. Call them out on that stuff. You can hear the tapping. So try to really engage with your students and have these kinds of conversations around their experience. Just, how are you doing? Like, what's happening? And, you can certainly suggest to the parents that they have opportunities to listen to friends and repeat back what they're saying, be curious. Just knowing that you're not alone is also really helpful. So even if you can tell your student, Mary was just actually talking about this on a video, like a lot of kids are feeling the way you're feeling. That makes really good sense that you're feeling that way. So sometimes just knowing they're not the only one is really helpful. Also, just empowering students to understand the power of their decisions and making them understand that when they decide to stay up until 2 a.m. or they decide to be on their phones or play video games during their breaks or take naps during the day, these are decisions that you're making that are becoming your habits. And just as simply put, you could make other decisions that are in your better interest for the long term. So you can talk with them about habits. you can talk with them about just what makes you happy. Like, what could you do right now that just makes you happy, even for a moment, right? So could you paint a picture? Could you take a picture? Could you shoot some baskets? Could you skateboard, walk the dog, jump rope? I give a lot of ideas here. Try to think of these things not as like, you don't have to be perfect at them. You don't have to do them at other times besides this. Maybe just pick something up because it seems interesting and you try it out and maybe you hate it. Okay, so what? Just try something different. So every day, just having a little like play time. I think our teenagers lose a lot of that. I notice in my own house where I have kids of multiple ages. I have a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, and almost 13-year-old. And it's like, the 9 and the 6-year-old are still playing a lot. So there's lots of like, imaginative stuff going on. And I think for a teenager, they've kind of lost a little bit of that drive in their free time. And so to give them permission to play within something creative is really helpful right now, and it could fill them up. Really empowering students to write and to share their story is huge. And I know, for example, I spoke with a tutor this morning about creating a course for students to engage in storytelling is really, really important right now. So just, tell your story, share your ideas. Nobody has your story. You don't have to publish it for the public view. You could just write it for yourself, and maybe you're going to use parts of it for your college essay or, whatever you really want. You can put it out there to the world. Of course, I would always make sure that the student understands if you publish something online or you publish something in the world, it's there. It's permanently there for everyone to see. So just make sure they understand all of those things. But certainly just writing down stuff on a daily basis, even if you, the tutor, wanted to write down a Google Doc, like, hey, we're going to just jot back and forth here. How are you doing? This is what I've been doing. And you share a couple of things that are okay to share with them. And then maybe they'll share some things with you. So just getting the words out, I think, is sometimes really, really helpful. Also, I've been talking with my students a lot about this, just about, hey, this isn't going to be forever. You're going to look back in a year from now and you're going to think, gosh, what did I do with myself? Like, what did I do? What kind of a person was I during this time? And did you stay in your room and retreat the entire time? Or did you fight like heck and get something out or learn something and figure something out to be innovative at this time, right? What did you do? What did you build as your purpose? That can be really, really helpful for students, especially teenagers who really need a purpose. I think I understand schools are getting rid of the grades, and some of them are, but those that are, what's happening is that many students are losing that sense of purpose in that action. And so they're used to working toward the grade. And even though we can argue whether that's a good thing or not a good thing, it's still a something to be working towards. And now we've pulled that away and students are sort of looking around and wondering, well, am I supposed to be doing this work or am I not supposed to be doing this work? And that's an adjustment, right? And so we are really trying, I think, as the adults in the room, to provide purpose for our students. And certainly as a tutor, you can really dialogue with your student around, well, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do during this time? Let's write some ideas down. Why not? This is a good idea to do, right? So I'm publishing this infographic right now on our social sites and also on our website. So if you need it and you want to share it with your families and students, feel free. I also put in here, just if you do notice that your child is engaging in behaviors that are different in terms of their energy level, or if they're retreating into themselves in any way, these are signs of depression, and it is important to reach out to the adults in the room and to professionals to talk about what's happening so that you can support your students and your children through this really difficult time and process. I hope that was helpful. I look forward to hearing from you more on this, and I'm going to shut down the video now.